Hi everybody, this is Derek with Tedler Garden Center and Melissa's behind the camera.
Hi guys!
And today we're going to do our Iowa Gardening Series video and we're going to be discussing mums. So with that, I wanted to first talk about what colors they come in. You can find yellow, red, white, pink, lavender, orange. I don't think I'm missing any color.
I don't think so. And there's kind of like, coral. Like I call
Oh
it a
yeah,
coral.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's so many beautiful fall colors to choose from, right?
Yeah, and there's even mums that come in tricolor, so you can get one mum that has 3 different colors or 2 different colors in it sometimes.
Yeah, those are pretty too.
That's kind of a look at the colors. If you're ever wondering, like, how do you buy a mum? What's the best way to pick one? How do you choose? Well, my tips are try to go for a mum that is just starting to show color. This one right here is beautiful, but it's not gonna last as long because it's already in full bloom. So it's better to pick when it's just starting to show color. You can even go a little bit tighter than this.
Yes.
That's
So
what
you
I
can
always
kinda,
do.
I'm going to show people. There's kind of some really tightly budded stuff. There's stuff that's like cracking color, and then there's stuff that's like all the way open.
Yeah.
So you're looking for something, right, that has some of those tight little buds on it and just starting to show color. And why they want to do that?
It's because if you choose the mum that's just starting to show color, you're going to get the beauty the longest, if that makes sense. So it really is kind of pretty if you can appreciate the buds. You kind of get the color showing up from the beginning, and you'll add like 2 to 3 weeks of color, I would say, by choosing one that is just starting to open versus one that's already fully open.
Perfect. So just, if I was a customer and I bought this one, how long would the color last, would you say?
I would say 3 weeks
Okay.
on that one, and sometimes it's really temperature dependent. If we
Okay.
have a hotter season, it won't last as long as if it's a cooler season.
Okay, perfect.
Something on this, you're probably looking at 4 weeks, 5 weeks,
Maybe even 6 weeks.
maybe even 6 weeks. If it's a cool fall, it'll
Yeah.
last really, really long. I mean,
Yeah.
it'll last a good 7, 8 weeks if we have a cool fall.
Yeah. Perfect.
So I get a lot of questions in often that when will they come back? Can I plant these in the garden and will they come back year after year? So that actually is a really good question, and I can tell you that the answer is for these, sometimes they will and sometimes they won't.
Okay.
I have tried it here at the garden center and I have seen success in some and some not successful. So what is the best way to give the best chance of getting them to come back? That's a good question, and I'll help you with that. One is a lot of them will have a tag inside. I'm going to see if I can find it while we're talking. Here it is. And it says Radiant Red is the variety, and it says Garden Mum underneath. More likely than not, if it says Garden Mum, it's probably hardy. But then you can go one step further. Sometimes when you look on the back of the tag, I've even seen some of ours this year will say Zone 5 or Zone 4. If that's on there, there's a good chance it's going to come back in terms of hardiness. If it just says mum or annual mum, it's probably not worth trying in the garden. There's a couple other tips and tricks to that as well, though. I try to look for mums that have a lot of growth. I don't know if you can see underneath. The more offshoots that are underneath, the better the chance that it will come back.
So there's lots of branches in there.
And then I would also try to get a bigger mom which is why I grabbed this size. Sometimes these come back, but it seems like when they're more established, they have a better chance.
More root system, more plant to kind of keep it living,
Yeah,
possibly.
it's an older plant, so it's a little bit more established. And then it's just kind of troubleshooting with it, I guess, because sometimes I've seen certain colors come back better than others, like purple and red and orange and yellow come back better than white and pink. But it's like a gardener's answer. You'll get a different answer from a different person in a different area in a different yard and so on and so forth.
I've heard those same colors, though, from our customers here, too,
so
though.
it seems to be. And the ones that I planted here, we planted some on the grounds. The ones that came back were yellow, orange, and purple. And I've tried a couple other colors and they're not. But if you're going to try these, again, not a guarantee they're going to come back, but the tips are plant early. So definitely get this in the ground pretty soon, because the earlier you get it in the ground, the better. So like early September, mid-September will probably be the best time frame. Anything later than that, you're really kind of cutting it really close. The best time to plant mums, by the way, is actually spring. They get established a lot faster because they're focusing on bloom right now. Whereas if they were in the ground year after year, they would already be established. They can flower, and then they can focus on setting roots for next year and shoots for next year. But if they're in this stage, they have to focus on blooming and root stage at the same time. So it kind of plays off each other. So it's better to plant in the spring for these.
But I will say it's pretty darn hard to find one in the spring
Yes,
to
it
plant,
is.
isn't
It is hard to find one. That's the only other thing about it. I do say it's better for spring, but it usually falls when you find them. So it's kind of fine balancing there.
Yeah.
But I did bring a mum out. I wanted to show you guys because there's a really, really good chance because they're very hardy, and I'm just going to have Melissa pan to it. If you're actually looking for a hardy mum, for sure, this is the way to go. This is the Mammoth Mom Series, which was a lot of them were bred by the University of Minnesota. So they're hardy to like zone 3 and zone 4. And this one, I don't remember the variety on it, but I have it at home. Does it say up there? I think it's like pin cushion or something. It's on my side.
It is yellow quill daisy.
Yeah. I have this one, and it's very beautiful and it's very hardy, and it just stays this nice little size like this. There are some tips with it though. When I planted mine in the ground, it flowers in July, which is not exactly, I'd rather have the fall color in August and September. Some varieties are mid and some are late and some are early. But one tip is if you cut this back around the 4th of July, it'll keep it tighter and it will also delay the flowering to the fall season. Some of them you don't have to do that with because they naturally bloom later and stay tighter. And some of them bloom a little bit earlier. Usually it says on the tag when they flower.
How far back would they cut a plant like this if they were going to cut back?
Only by about half or a little more than half.
Okay.
And then it will reflush growth and it will come back shorter the second time, but it will be tighter and less floppy. I've been pretty impressed with mine at home now. It stays pretty tight.
Is this one of the Mammoth Mums?
It should be.
Okay. I was just curious because I know that some of those get
Mammoth.
quite large, don't they, in size?
Well, let's see. The tag shows that it gets 2 to 3 foot wide and 2 to 4 foot tall.
Okay.
Mine has really not gotten any bigger
Than
this
that.
so far. Mine's about 3 years old, so
Okay,
it could
gotcha.
still get a little bit bigger. But I find they're pretty tidy and not they don't take over too much. Is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. Can you tell us, like for either one of these mums, what kind of conditions do we want to plant in? And what kind of sunlight do they like? Where do they want to be?
So if you're going to buy one that's earlier, the more sun, the better, because those buds are still developing, and it's going to be important to make sure they get enough light to develop fully, and they won't abort. Sometimes if they're too dark at this stage, they'll abort and they just won't flower. Other times though, if you have a place like underneath the porch where there's a little bit more shade, but it still gets half-day sun, if you choose one that is a little bit more open, you're not really worried so much because it's already developed flowering, so it's going to finish up flowering naturally the way it is if the buds are already formed. But for the most part, full sun, plenty of moisture are the two keys with that one.
Okay, perfect.
Definitely water. If you leave them in this pot, they might need to be watered once a day. If you plant them in a bigger pot, it's going to cut down the watering by several days.
Okay. I've also heard too, like when you put them in the ground, not to like trim them back in the fall. Is that something that you would agree on, or do you mulch the crown or do anything special to try and get them through the winter?
Good question. So I don't mulch the crown. I kind of feel like that can promote moisture next to it. If I were to do it, I might try leaves, but not wood chips.
Yep.
And I don't cut back in the fall because we have winters here that often the snow cover's unreliable, I'll call it. So you will get days where it gets very cold with no snow cover, and the material that's left on top will insulate it, and it will also catch any snow cover that's blowing around, and it keeps it warmer. So do leave it alone and just let it do its thing and cut back in the spring.
Awesome.
Any other questions for me?
I don't think so. I think you've really covered things well. Do you want to tell people how they can reach you if they do have more questions about fall mums or other plant questions for you?
Yes, you can reach us through any of our social media outlets. You can comment on this video and leave a comment, and someone will let me know that you commented. Those are the best ways to reach us, and we'll get all your questions answered. And you can also stop on down because we've got lots of mum selection.
Yes, we do. There's some pretty ones out there right now for sure.
All right then, I think that's it for this video. We're going to go ahead and we'll see you in the next one. See ya.